Good evening and welcome to Arizona Illustrated for Monday, April 30th, 2012. I'm Christopher Conover, sitting in for Tony Paniagua. Early ballots for the special election in Congressional District 8 go out in just a few days. Last week we introduced you to Democratic candidate Ron Barber. So tonight, as part of our Your Vote 2012 coverage, Andrea Kelly sits down with the Green Party candidate Charles Manolakis.
Joining us now in the studio is Green Party candidate Charles Manolakis, who is running in Congressional District 8. Thanks for joining us, Charlie.
A pleasure. It's glad to be here with a wonderful Tucson and Arizona institution. It's done so much for our society and for our community.
Well, let's start by having you introduce yourself to voters. Tell us a little bit about your background and who you are.
Okay. Well, I was born in Lowell, Massachusetts. I lived a Huckleberry Finn in Lowell existence, and Tom Sawyer sailed down the Merrimack River. A friend of mine went on to go to South Boston High, participated in three major sports there, and happened to be the only high school in the country which has obtained a first place in 5 major sports. From South Boston High, I guess one of the highlights of my life experiences was to go to the University of Massachusetts, that is in Boston. At the time I was there, during 66 to 74, it was the most progressive university in the country. I obtained 5 degrees at that wonderful institution, the 5 degrees being English, psychology, sociology, history, and education. It is in that area, in that city, the cradle of liberty, that I became a political and a community activist. At that time, I stood up against the industrial military complex that I thought was doing a lot of bad things for the country in regards to the Vietnam War. So I was a leader within that movement. Excuse me?
I was going to say, and you ended up moving to this part of the country in the 70s, is that right?
Yes. 1974, I moved to Tucson, Arizona. I had hitchhiked across the country with my dog, a Mexican Chihuahua that was trained in the martial arts. No, really, it was a German Shepherd that became trained in the martial arts. But it was a wonderful experience. I saw every state in this wonderful country and met many people. From there, I took my activism into the Tucson area, thinking locally all the time, but acting nationally. I was very active within the environmental movement here within Tucson, and my latest activities were consistent of being active with the single-payer activists here in Tucson 2 years ago. I took my activism also right onto the John Justice show at the day before the Gabby Giffords election. That was my plan to do that at that time. So I got on the John Justice show. That's the number 6 most listened talk show in the country, out of many hundreds. At that time, I took a stance against the way that the Republican politicos had controlled the healthcare system for 15 to 20 years.
And can you tell us why you've decided to get into this race for Congressional District 8, this special election to finish out the term?
The special election I decided to come into because it just is akin with my main motivation as to why I'm running for congressional office to begin with, the House of Representatives, and that is I want to bring social justice to this country because I believe, along with Martin Luther King, that the greatest social injustice is to deny people health care. And I think the way the healthcare system has been functioning in this country for much too long is a system of denial. But I've been part of that battle now for 30 years, and we are progressing. We are coming into a realm of victory. But actually it's an actual civil war going on in this country. It's been going on for 100 years in regards to healthcare reform. But this time the American people are on a trend of victory because we have 23 states now that are facsimile of, and that is being close to the single-payer system. We have 27 states that are way far in a different polarity as to where they are. And these are the states that are suing to claim that the so-called Obama's healthcare plan, which was really a House of Representatives plan, they're claiming that it is unconstitutional. So, but the battle is going on, the Civil War, and we're beginning to win with those 23 states.
So you'd like to see a single-payer healthcare system. Any other changes you'd like to see in regards to the Affordable Care Act or healthcare legislation nationally?
Well, I don't think we have to pay that much attention to the Affordable Health Care Act. We do have to pay some attention because it is a relatively good plan. I could lay out for you 10 components of it that are really very good for the people, and I could lay out 10 that are bad. But actually, we don't have to pay that much attention to it because we have 23 states that are better than that plan. They're at a higher level. Those being Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Vermont, Hawaii, and Utah, to mention several of the 23.
You said you like the way 23 states are dealing with health care and a single-payer system. So do you think this should be something that states are dealing with instead of the federal government, or what's your proposal?
Yes, I just would like to clarify a little in regards to those 23 states. They're not really quite into a single-payer system, but they're in a facsimile. They're close thereof within the realm of a single-payer system. I believe we have a plan now in existence. We have a bill now in the Congress. It's called H.R. I believe it's 676 or 876. Anyway, it's the Medicare bill. It's called Medicare for All. This bill shows a lot of promise as to bringing the healthcare system into the realm of where it should be for the American people. But there are a few major flaws within that bill. That's why I said I would work with the champions within Congress as I move to try to get out the chumps. I know who the champions are. They are signed into that bill. That bill needs some few major overhauls within it to make it what it should be. For example, the bill wants to take a step of putting our people that are in Medicaid, bringing them into the realm of what was called the Reconciliation Act of 94 and 96, on that period. They want to put people out of Medicaid and not to bring them into the plan. I don't think that's a good way to go. Another problem with the bill is it never mentions the word nurses when it talks about all the healthcare professionals that are contributing to the greatness of this country and doing wonderful works for these countries. It never mentions the word nurse, and that should be instigated within the bill. It also ignores the classification of who should not be prejudiced against. Doesn't mention we should not prejudice against the people of religion or of low-income class or of, I believe, women, gender, and a few other places. It does not mention the people that should be paid attention to. Okay, so when it's clarified and overhauled in these ways, maybe we'll get more people to sign in and come aboard into the plan itself.
Okay. And turning to look at the district, Congressional District 8, right now there's about 852 registered Green Party members, your party that you're running in,
yes,
to about 133,000 Democrats and about 159,000 Republicans. So just like in any other party in this district, you would have to attract voters from outside your party. How do you plan to do that?
Well, the way I plan to do that is to actually act for who I really am. I'm really a Democrat, independent Democrat, and I want the people to know this is where my heart is. I came under the banner of the Green Party so I could get into this race. I hold the Green Party very highly within all their ideals. I'm functioning on and flowing on one of the Green Party's greatest concepts, if not the greatest, social justice. But again, at heart, I am really a Democrat and an independent. And this is how I am really running, and I might very well make it official when it comes time for the C2 election.
I was just going to ask, are you planning to run in Congressional District 2 in the fall?
Yes, I am, if necessary. I'm sort of like Muhammad Ali. The first 2 rounds were a peekaboo round and a rope-a-dope. I very successful flowed within the peekaboo maneuvers and the rope-a-dope. So, but now it's becoming, if it has to become round 3, if I have to be in round 3 or 4, whatever, now it's the time I'm going to move like a butterfly and stink like a bee. This is the new round.
All right, and we were talking before the interview about transportation. I know you said you really enjoy walking and running,
yes,
and but you don't have a car. So how do you plan to? This is a huge district in terms of mileage. How do you plan to get your message out across the district?
Well, I continue to walk. I'm going to continue to walk and run, take mass transportation, save the environment, and also I have friends that have cars. Buses can get me to certain locations if necessary, even trains. So I intend to be using all these commodities as I progress into my campaign in round 3 or 4, the move like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
And as we were looking at some of the other candidates in the primary, of course, you know the Republicans had a primary. Democrat Ron Barber did not have a primary. We were looking at campaign finance reports. You haven't filed one, and a candidate who doesn't plan to spend more than $5,000 doesn't need to file a campaign finance report. So is this a lower spending plan for you, a lower spending campaign?
Yes, this is the way I am now. I want to take the money out of politics, and I actually want to show that you can win with little money or no money. That's been my progression right now. But who knows? Possibly I may come in with more money in a little later stage.
All right. Green Party candidate Charlie Manolakis, thank you for coming by today.
Quite welcome.
And a reminder for our viewers, you can see all of our interviews with the Congressional District 8 candidates on our website, azpm.org.
In the coming weeks, we'll have all 3 Congressional District 8 candidates in together for a 1-hour forum. First Lady Michelle Obama was in Tucson today, raising money for her husband's re-election campaign. In recent weeks, Vice President Biden was in Arizona, as was Republican presidential contender Mitt Romney. So our poll question tonight, do you think Arizona will be a swing state in this year's presidential election? Let us know what you think on our Facebook page. Star Trek fans are all too familiar with the Tricorder device that provides data and answers to so many questions. Thanks to a University of Arizona researcher, that bit of science fantasy is close to science reality. Our sister station, KAET in Phoenix, brings us that story.
In our continuing coverage of technology and innovation issues, we look at a case of science fiction turned science reality. In the Star Trek TV series, the character Spock would use an electronic handheld instrument called a tricorder to get readings on a newly discovered planet. Now, a postdoctorate research fellow from the University of Arizona has created a real-life working tricorder. And here to talk about his enterprise is Dr. Peter Jansen. Did you get the Enterprise joke there? You probably heard every single joke from this, haven't you?
I've heard a lot of them.
Yes. Okay, before we get, what is a tricorder?
So a tricorder is really a very general scientific tool that's sort of like a Swiss Army knife of science. And you can use them both for just doing science research as well as science education. And they contain sort of every different sensor that you can think of and that you can fit in such a confined area, you'd want to put in one.
So I know on Star Trek, a tricorder seemed to do like atmospheric conditions, electromagnetic conditions, spatial kind of things.
Exactly.
Is that what these do as well?
Very much so. So it can sense things like atmospheric temperature or pressure or humidity, things like magnetic fields, spatial things like distance or motion or GPS location. Those are all here.
We have some. I think we have some shots of the schematics, if you will, and some diagrams as far as getting involved with it. What kind of operating system does this use?
So the first one uses a very custom operating system, and the second one uses a commodity operating system called Linux that's open source and freely available.
And open source means if I've got a great idea where that USB port should be, because if I move that, then it'll attract elephants or something. I can do it.
Exactly. You can go to the website tricorderproject.org and download the schematics, the plans, the diagrams, and build your own right in your basement.
We were looking a little bit at the construction, kind of the innards, the guts, if you will, of this particular. What got you started in all this?
I've wanted to build a tricorder ever since I was a kid. My dad and I used to sit down and watch Star Trek together, which was absolutely great. And ever since then, I was just absolutely fascinated by the technology and went into science in order to build it.
Yeah, and was there a point at Star Trek where you went? I mean, you could have done a phaser.
I'm Canadian. We don't do phasers.
You don't do phasers. All right, I got you. Let's take a look. You brought a couple of these on set here. This one, the first one, is your original model, correct?
Yes. So this is more of a proof of concept, and was really to prove to myself that I could build a tricorder. When I came into this, I was still fairly new in building tricorders, and it can sense things like magnetic fields. There's so temperature and humidity and all those and all those sorts of things are available here. And then the second tricorder that I have now.
Go ahead. Let's take a look at that one too.
It's a bit fancier. It's really, I really designed it for me. I designed it to be this sort of beautiful instrument that you could do a lot of visualization work and really make people intuitively understand whatever you're trying to sense.
Now, on the left side there, we're seeing wave. This is you're basically recording stuff. You're measuring things there, correct?
Exactly. So here we're seeing some magnetic fields on the side here. Down here we have non-contact temperature. So I think we're measuring the temperature of the ceiling right now.
Sure.
But that giant blip that we just saw is my hand moving in front of it.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's really kind of cool.
And you got a keyboard below that, so that it's somewhat familiar to those of us who aren't in the tricorder.
Very much so.
Now, in terms of real-life application, medical, like diagnosing, like Bones used to do there at the sick bay?
In Star Trek, they had two different kinds of tricorders. One was a tricorder that Spock would get, and he would take down with him on an away mission to a planet to figure out all sorts of interesting things. And another one was a medical tricorder that they would use in sick bay to really just figure out what was wrong with you with the press of a button.
And now, how far along are these to doing, especially the medical application?
Right. So these are squarely science tricorders right now. But the X Prize Foundation, the same folks who have sponsored the $10 million X Prize to reach space, they've just announced a Tricorder X Prize, squarely aimed at medical tricorders and diagnosing all sorts of different diseases, from cancer to bacterial infections to whatever you can think of.
So basically, the contest is get a tricorder, point it. Don't poke at anybody. Just point it at them, and if you can diagnose something or sense something, you win a big prize.
Exactly. It's really exciting, and I imagine that it's just going to absolutely blow away medical science.
Now, a lot of things with Star Trek, you see apps, Android and iPad apps that do similar stuff, or some sort of close approximation, I should say. Compare and contrast those with these.
So modern cell phones have really gotten very advanced, and many of them include a couple of different sensors. Most of them aren't designed for accurately sensing the environment, but they're things like to adjust the contrast or the brightness of your screen if you're in a light environment or if you're in daylight. These are really very different instruments. They have very accurate sensors in them, and they're really designed to do exciting science.
Interesting. Last question here. Any copyright or licensing problems? Because you're using a tricorder, and there was no such thing as a tricorder before Star Trek.
So apparently, Gene Roddenberry negotiated in his original contract with Paramount or CBS or whoever it was that if anybody makes the actual technology, that they can use the name. I think that this is one of the first instances that I'm aware of that's actually happened.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's really kind of cool.
So basically, the idea is you can do it, you can take it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're doing it.
We're going to have to work on the warp drive next.
No. All right. Well, congratulations and good luck. I hope that we see some leaps and bounds with this sort of technology. It certainly is exciting, and for those old Star Trek fans, it's kind of fun, too.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm Mark Wahlberg. Next time on Antiques Roadshow.
I found it at my local dump.
Oh, so you're a dump diver?
Yes, much to my wife's displeasure.
This watch was made by the most famous, most important watchmaker of our time.
Wow, I can't believe that.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
That's awesome.
Next time from Providence, Rhode Island on Antiques Roadshow.
Tonight at 9 on PBS HD, Arizona Public Media.
Engineering students from the University of Arizona will gather tomorrow at Bear Down Gym to show off their inventions designed to make our lives easier. Caitlin Harrington has this preview.
Joining me in the studio today is Ara Arabian, the coordinator of the Senior Capstone Design Program, and Roger Anderson, an electrical engineering senior at the U of A, as well as the Samurai team leader. Thank you both for joining me today. Ara, we're here to talk about Design Day. Can you tell our audience generally what Design Day is all about and when and where it will take place?
Design Day is a public event where students across the College of Engineering display projects that they have built over 1 year, over their last senior year. The projects are mostly industry sponsored, and they're real projects. Many of them are prototypes, many of them are improvements over designs from the past or existing designs that industry uses. Some of them are new things, inventions, or prototypes of inventions. So we have this year, we have 57 teams who will be displaying on Design Day, and we have 300 students in those 57 teams, and we'll have 71 industry judges come and rate them on various categories. Part of their grade is actually based on how the judges rate them. And Design Day this year is going to be held in the Bear Down Gym on the mall. So we'll have displays both inside the gym and outside the gym.
And Roger, as we stated earlier, you are the team leader of Team Samurai. Can you tell our audience a little bit about your project that you've been working on for the past year?
Sure. This is an unmanned ground vehicle, and this is the fourth year that our sponsor has actually sponsored this program. In the past, what it's been able to do is outdoors, it's able to autonomously navigate from one point to another while avoiding obstacles on the way. And that's kind of what it's been the past few years. They've added a few things. This year, the big change that we've been doing, what we've been trying to add onto it, is indoor navigation. Last year, it relied heavily on GPS, which you don't really have indoors, and indoor environment is much different than outdoor environment. So we've added a few components and some other things to give it the capability to operate indoors. On the top, you can see there's a laser rangefinder that gives us a lot more accurate details. We've also added wheel encoders into the wheels that can tell us the distance that each wheel has turned, so that we can help calculate where we are inside the building without having to rely on the GPS.
We talked prior to the interview about the importance of these engineering seniors being able to work with businesses for a year-long span. Why do you think this is important, not just Design Day, but being able to work on a project like this for a year at a time?
Well, this is the opportunity of the students to do something real at the end of their studies. So we call it capstone design because it caps basically 4 years of education. And we have interdisciplinary teams. In other words, we have like electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, optical engineers working together on producing something that's fairly complicated. It gives them an opportunity to, number one, understand the complexity of real life situations. Number two, to work together with different disciplines. Number three, to deliver things on time and on budget, and also provides them with opportunities to find employment. Industry sponsors that fund these projects often hire the students that work on these projects. Some of these projects, incidentally, become real-life products, and that's why many companies continue sponsoring these, like versions, different versions, more advanced versions, and so forth. So there is benefit to industry also.
And there are a few businesses that have come back again and again to sponsor, is that right?
Yes.
Who are some of those businesses?
So companies like Raytheon, Honeywell, BAE Systems, Tucson Embedded, like this one, always, every year, pretty much sponsor these projects. AGM Container. So we have many return or repeat customers, so to speak.
Roger, can you talk to us a little bit about how this business and student partnership works? They do fund you. They say what kind of students they're looking for the project. Can you tell our audience a little bit about that?
Sure. So we start out in August, and we all get a list of the different projects that are out there. And we put in kind of a wish list of what we want. And from that point, we get assigned to a different project, and they try and give us the one that we want the most. And we're each given $3,000 to work on whatever project we're working on. And they also try and align us to give the sponsors the kind of engineers that they want. So if they want a certain amount of electrical engineers, they'll give that to them, but you don't always get what you want. I think they wanted for this project 3 electrical engineers. I'm the only one, though, for the team. So it changes, but they try and match you up as best as they can for what you want and for the sponsor's needs. And then you work with your sponsors for the next year trying to develop the product they want. You sit down with them at the beginning and go over their requirements that they have for it, and you map out a plan for the entire year of how you're going to get to that end goal.
Well, I think we look forward to seeing all the innovative designs tomorrow. Roger and Ara, I thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Visitors to Reed Park last week got a look at a solar car competition. Videographer Heather Woodrich brings us this video postcard.
Compare that to the CFLs. You could probably do that a lot longer, right? Now you're using 90% less energy. You get a sticker for riding the energy bike.
On your mark. Get set. Go! Cars 32, 31, 14, 27. Your electric is your primary, and you push on past. So you push on past the electric, and it hits the gas pedal. So it's simplicity.
You had to guess how many cans were in that, and you can win the pinata. 783? Right. How many cans are in there?
Not even close. Double that.
Really?
That's about 1,520. All different colors. Yeah, colors.
You can always get more news and information on our website, azpm.org. There you can also comment on any story you saw tonight. Click on it online and go to the bottom of the story. We can also be reached via Facebook and Twitter. Coming up tomorrow night, we'll hear about some proposals to change the RTA plans for Broadway. We'll also meet some youngsters mastering the game of chess. I'm Christopher Conover. Thanks for watching and have a good night.